the chairperson and the deputy chairperson of the Otago Regional Council met in Wellington, as I understand, with the Minister for the Environment, Penny Simmonds, and the Minister for Local Government, Simeon Brown, to explain why they should continue with a land and water plan that instills Maori values and spiritualism, spooky spiritualism, I have to say, but also essentially places the value of the water before the value of the economy and indeed entire rural and farming communities in New Zealand. And they've been told, and the government's come in with a clear mandate from New Zealand to reach some sort of normal balance between environmental and economic goals. The Otago Regional Council and other councils in New Zealand have decided to carry on regardless. And in fact, in Taranaki Regional Council, for example, they've actually even said they know that they are defying government policy, but they intend to progress because they want to, quote unquote, bake in the changes so that even when the government does introduce its new policy and it is clearly defined, they will still have all their spooky spiritualism in their plan, unable to be reversed. That'll give you some idea of some of the defiance that's happening throughout New Zealand. No surprise that advice came from an ex-senior staff member to the Taranaki District Regional Council of the Otago Regional Council. Joining us to talk about this right at the epicentre of this regional defiance is the chairman of Federated Farmers in Otago, Luke Kane. He joins us now. Luke, welcome to the show. Great to have you along.
Yeah, thanks for that, Michael. Yeah, no, she's another spring type day down here. So we're getting there.
Have you had any snow?
No snow, but I've got blue sky, and that's probably the first time I've seen that in a while, so that's quite nice.
Can I ask the obvious question that most sort of metropolitan people would ask? When it snows and you know the lambs are out there, do the farmers have sufficient warning these days to move the stock?
Yeah, normally you do get the forecasting nowadays is pretty reliable. Yeah, and it is spring at the end of the day. It's not unseasonable to be wet or snowing. It's one of those ones that's a flip of a coin as to year on year.
What's a dead lamb worth these days? Nothing?
Yeah, I see that. I'm not a sheep farmer myself, but I do see there is some dead lamb collection started back up. But I think that is a collection service and not paid.
Not a paid one. Yeah.
When I was a bit young, Mum and Dad used to get paid for the old slinkies, but yeah, she's just a tough market nowadays.
That's right. That's what they're called, slinkies, wasn't it? What did they used to do with it? They used to get the wool off them. Is that the story?
Yeah, that's from my understanding. Yeah, they'd process the skins and that sort of thing, and I guess ground down the rest of the animal. Yeah,
maybe a bit of dog food, maybe. All right. Okay, Luke. Now, yesterday I've given the background to this, I think, pretty extensively. The Otago Regional Council is probably the epicentre of defiance of regional councils throughout New Zealand of government changes to land and water in this country. What do you understand as to what happened at yesterday's meeting? Have you got any inkling as to that?
No, I haven't had a huge amount of comms on it. Would have loved to have been a fly on the wall and see how that went. It's kind of beggars belief that we're still having these conversations, right?
One of the things that you've done is you've written asking for urgent action from the government to rein in the Otago Regional Council due to the lack of transparency on the proposed costs of their new plan and the implications of their land and water plan upon farmers and upon rural communities in general. What specific areas are you concerned about?
I guess some of this leads back to, of course, the RTS regional policy statement is still being mediated out. Most of that has been done, but there's still a lot of that information that appears, and especially from the press release from the ORC on, was that, I forget what day of the week we are, that might have been Tuesday or Wednesday, appears to be defying that hearing panel's decisions. So, yeah, really starting to kind of irk us going, yeah, why ignore this whole legal process, when it's not quite completed, and just completely defy the hearing panel's decisions.
So I need to explain to listeners, the regional policy statements are sort of an overall arching, I suppose, vision, if you like, for a region, yeah, and then what, the Land and Water Regional Plan sits underneath it, is that right?
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay, so the statements are sort of vision and the Land and Water Plan is sort of the detail. Are you saying that the Regional Council are going through mediating what should be in that regional policy statement and are acting as if the original statement was still operational rather than changes that they've made as a consequences of the mediation?
It would appear that they're kind of handpicking the bits of the RPS that they like and ignoring other pieces. So the bits that are being mediated out at the moment are realistically only points of law, so not big changes or anything like that. They're just clarifying a few things. So, yeah, for either councillors or staff to be ignoring that RPS is ridiculous. And I guess it probably opens them up to a judicial review.
More lawyers.
In time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the real bugbear, right? Like, I mean, obviously these sorts of things cost money, and but let's just do it right. Do it at an affordable rate, and do it right.
Now, what also people in New Zealand won't understand is that the plans are extraordinarily expensive. You've costed the Otago Regional Council is spending 4 years on getting this plan to where it is now and over $17 million. But you're also saying that despite that incredible outlay of time, effort and energy and money, they still actually haven't costed what the implications of their changes will be to the wider community. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, that's our understanding that Section 32 report, which is that costings, has not been fully completed yet, or we're not privy to that information. But it would appear on the press release on some of the figures bounded around on further stock exclusion areas and these sorts of things, the figures haven't been done. Like, realistically, to say it's a viable thing for the farming community to further exclude, I think it's about 1,980 odd hectares, which is roughly 6,000 k's of fencing, is astronomical. So it's not science-based. It's not, we're not debating total stock exclusion or those sorts of things. This is now on shifting current fencing that, I might add, the Deputy Chair's heavily involved in the Pomahaka Watercare Group. I'd think it would be a massive disservice if that success of that group then had to go and shift all of the fencing because of a rule change.
So let me get this right, and so that urban people understand. The stock exclusion areas is that you've got a stream running presumably through or adjacent to your farmland, or a stream or a river or some sort of waterway that connects to such, and you're going to have to put fences where your property is all along there to stop your sheep straying anywhere near that particular waterway. Is that right?
It's not in relation to sheep, but more than likely all of the fencing is currently, especially in the dairy industry, is already done. So say said fence is currently 1 metre to 2 metres. Depending on the size of that waterway, it may now need to be shifted out a further 2 to 3 metres, which is not a quick and simple process. And it's, we're building these fences to last 50 odd years, and more than likely they've gone in the last 15. So we're going to cut the cycle of this fence life down massively. Plus, we haven't seen science to prove that we need to go out to these distances. We actually need time to see the effects of stock exclusion, and we know they are going to be good, right? But also we need to find where the best outcome for the environment genuinely is.
So let's get this right. In terms of sheep, beef and dairy, you're saying sheep actually aren't governed by these rules because as a general rule they're not an environmental hazard. Dairy is. Beef's, meat beef, are they?
It depends on the intensity of beef. So The national rules exclude sheep currently. The initial draft for the Otago Regional Council was going to include sheep.
It was.
That's then since been changed, reading that press release the other day. But yes, cattle, any farmed cattle and farmed deer will also need excluding, which, hey, massive intensity. I've no argument about. It's that shifting of something that's already just been built in the last 5 years is just,